So we're ready for our next step now. We're going to go back over to the background panel, which is this one with the strips of squares on and the red border. And I'm going to now use my iron to attach the fusible fleece. So I'm going to turn that over so I'm looking at the wrong side. I'm going to give it a quick press just to begin with. And if I notice that there's any little bits of thread or dust or fluff on there, I want to really get rid of that first. Otherwise, in a moment when I press the fleece onto there, those little bits of fluff are going to be forever living in between my fabric and my fusible fleece, creating a little bump or a dark shadow, which I don't want. So make sure that's nice and clean and pressed. Then I'm going to take my fusible fleece, and you'll notice that it has two sides. One side is rough and scratchy, and this is the gluey side, and the other side is fluffy. So you want to take the rough, scratchy side and place that face down on your panel, lining up the edges of your fusible fleece panel with the edge of the red border. So you'll just have the spotty fabric poking out from the side. Once that's nice and lined up, you're just going to use your iron on a wall setting, and you're just going to hold your iron in place for 15 seconds and then move it along and hold it in place. And you're going to just continue to do this. And what this is going to do is it's going to melt the glue onto the fabric, so it's fusing the fabric and the wadding together. And it takes a bit of time and a bit of patience, but you'll end up with it all stuck together. If you find that it's not sticking nicely, you can put a bit of steam on your iron, or you can press with a damp cloth. Just introducing a little bit of moisture will help with getting that glue to set. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to take my time. I don't want to rub my iron over like this because I don't want anything to move out of place. So I'm just doing it by holding it firmly in place and then moving it along, holding it firmly in place, and then moving it along, and so on until they are fused together. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back with you in a moment. I've attached the fusible fleece to my background fabric, and I'm now going to move back onto the pocket strips and start to create these. Now you'll notice on each strip that you've got a bit of white fabric with a grey dotted line in between each pocket. And what you want to do here is create a box pleat at each of these points. As in the famous phrase, here's one I made earlier. So I've created a box pleat in between each of these pockets, and I have secured that with a wonder clip at the bottom of each one. You only need to secure it at the bottom, not at the top. What you want to end up with is this pocket strip will sit on your background fabric, and the pocket will be secured at the bottom and have a bit of opening at the top so you can fit in all those lovely treats. So that's what the box pleat is for, just to give your pocket a bit more room inside. So how do we create the box pleats? Well, we're going to use our iron and some wonder clips or pins, and we're going to go along each strip and create the pleats. Now how I do this is I turn it so that I'm looking at the wrong side. For the first one, I fold it back until I get to the edge of the pocket, so I'm eliminating all of the white border that's living in between the pockets, and I give it a good press. Then I come and I do the same for the second one, so that's going to have a nice good press as well. So I'm not pressing the dotted line, I'm pressing along the edge of each of the pictures, so that I then have a crease running along here and along here. The next thing I do is that I fold those two creases in towards that dotted grey line, so I'm eliminating all of the white fabric in between, and the two pockets are meeting at that grey line. And then I take one of my wonder clips and I just hold all those layers in place. Now I'll hold this up so that you can see. So what you end up with is that sort of concertinaed effect there. So it comes in, fold, out, and you're just holding all of those folds in place at the bottom with a clip. I'm going to repeat that process for you, and you're going to carry on and do this throughout the whole strip. So wrong side, fold back, press along the edge, and it's more easy to see with the dark colour. So with the red pockets you'll find it very easy to see the edge because there's a big contrast between the red and the white. On the grey pockets, the pockets with a grey background, it's not quite so easy. So here, for example, we can see there's my red. I want to press along that red line there where the edge of the pocket meets the white fabric in the middle. Press along there. When I open it up, I find that I've got these two creases, and I just fold those creases in. It's a little bit fiddly, a little bit delicate, and you can get someone to help you if you need be. Press it and get your wonder clip and clip that in place. And I'm just going to carry on and do that for the whole of the strip until I've got all of those box pleats secured with a wonder clip. You can use a little bit of steam to help you with your iron. I'm not putting steam on my iron today because it's 30 degrees and I'm already melting. Also because I just thought maybe it might steam up the camera, and I don't want that either. So, but you can use a bit of steam on your iron if it helps to hold those creases nice and true, and helps hold everything in place. So folding into the middle, and wonder clip on there, and one last time, and then this strip is done. I notice any little bits of fraying thread, so I just remove them as I go. So fold to the edge of that pink line. I love the colours on this panel. It's so pretty and modern, and all that. The more you, it's one of those things. The more you look, the more details you see, and I think that this will be something that will be treasured for years to come in the Golding household. I'm going to fill it with sweeties. Or you could put a jigsaw puzzle piece. If you could find a children's jigsaw puzzle with 25 pieces, you could put a jigsaw puzzle piece in each pocket. There's lots of ideas. Or a miniature bottle of gin. I know some people who'd like that idea, myself included. Or maybe if you've got a sewing friend, something sewing related in each pocket. There we are. So there, you've got all your box pleats there, and I'm going to repeat that process for each of the 5 strips. So I've now secured each of my strips with the wonder clips, adding the box pleats all the way along the bottom. To make it the next couple of stages easier, I'm just going to secure those box pleats in place with a row of basting stitches. And basting stitches are just long stitches that are not going to be seen at the end of the project, but they're just there to hold something in place and help you. So I'm going to start before the first box pleat, popping my strip under my machine foot, lower my foot, and I'm going to sew inside this white border at the bottom. I don't want to go into the pockets. I want these stitches to be invisible once the, or not invisible, but out of sight once the calendar is made. So I'm just going to sew in between here. And I've increased my stitch length to 4, just is quicker. No real reason other than that. And I'm just going to stitch all the way along. I'm not going to worry about doing a back stitch at the beginning and end. And this is just really a stitch that's just going to hold everything in place. Now I had to take off the wonder clip in order to get this box pleat underneath the foot here. So I'm just using these fingers on this hand just to hold that pleat closed above. If you want, you can take your stitch unpicker, being quite careful not to pierce the fabric, and you can just smooth under there. You don't want to put your finger there. Just want to smooth that under there. Move it out of the way before the needle gets there, and that will help as well. If you wanted to, you could put a pin in here and a pin in here, and then sew over the top of the pins. As long as the pins are running this way, not this way, you can kind of sew over the top of them if you find that easier, and your needle should just jog over the top. But I like to try and avoid, where possible, sewing over pins. But you can do with something fiddly like this if it helps. There we go. So I'm just going through each box pleat, and it's just going to hold them in place, then I can get rid of the wonder clips. Ready for the next stage. Making sure that they're matching up at the bottom there. And I can just smooth that fabric under and then carry on sewing. There is a lot of sewing involved in making an advent calendar. It's a great way to practice. There you go, and I've gone beyond that bottom one now, so I'm going to show you how that looks. So those stitches, nice long stitches, and they're just holding those box pleats closed there, ready for the next stage. And I'm going to repeat that process with all 5 of the strips.